Many mysterious craters form on our planet. Holes of various sizes and depths appear in the seas, jungles, taiga, and tundra. Sometimes, whole cities risk sinking into the ground. Let's take a look at the top most beautiful and terrifying, large and deep sinkholes, where the center of the Earth gets just a little bit closer. And most importantly, as a final bonus, we'll discuss what alternative theories exist about the mysterious causes of these craters. Dongguan, China. It is in China that sinkholes in the ground form especially often. Natural disasters in this large country are worsened by intense construction, often violating established standards and regulations. In this footage, we see how the construction of a new subway station in the southern Chinese city of Dongguan ended with almost an entire street sinking underground. The sinkhole formed in several stages. First, a minivan fell into the initial hole, which was 80 square meters in size, and a day later, the sinkhole, which turned out to be 4 times larger, opened up behind the minivan. Next came the almost finished metro station and a section of the city street. 1 person died, several nearby buildings were seriously damaged, and the process of the sinkhole forming was caught on video. Meridian, Mississippi, United States of America. Visitors who wanted to have dinner at a fast food restaurant in the provincial town of Meridian, in the heart of Mississippi, were definitely not prepared for the surprise that nature had in store for them. On November 9, 2015, a giant trench suddenly appeared in the restaurant parking lot. 180 meters long and 15 meters wide, and a dozen customers' cars immediately fell into it. Most likely, the cause of the incident was the prolonged rains that had been falling in Meridian for 2 weeks by that time. Local media reported that there was a storm drain running directly under the parking lot, which apparently could not withstand the pressure of the incoming water. Fortunately, the cars were the only ones affected during this incident. Batagay, Yakutia, Russia. Scientists first discovered the Batagay crack in the mid-1960s. At that time, it was a relatively small ravine, but over the past 5 decades, it has grown to cyclopean proportions, 1 kilometer long, 800 meters wide, and 100 meters deep. The depression, shaped like a large tadpole, is in a sparsely populated area near Batagay village. Camp prisoners began tin mining even before the Great Patriotic War. The emergence of this curious site is connected to these circumstances. For the needs of the newly established mine, forests were cleared in the vicinity of Batagay, and later, active thawing of permafrost occurred in this area, causing the top layer of soil to collapse into the resulting voids. Guatemala. And this photo has practically become a meme. On February 23, 2007 in Guatemala City, a nearly perfect round hole with sheer walls and about 100 meters deep appeared in the middle of a densely populated residential area. In this case, there were casualties. 5 people died as a result of this tragedy. The worst part is, they weren't the last victims. Just 3 years later, in May 2010, another similar sinkhole appeared in Guatemala, 20 meters wide and 90 meters deep, completely destroying a 3-story factory building. As a result of this incident, 15 people died. Both tragedies were caused by a combination of factors. Leaking sewage and heavy rains that caused flooding simply eroded the volcanic and limestone rocks on which the city stands. Ein-Gedi, Israel. While Guatemala had only 2 sinkholes, in the Israeli oasis of Ein-Gedi, located on the shore of the Dead Sea, their number literally reaches into the thousands. They formed due to the Dead Sea's steadily dropping water level, which still continues. The Dead Sea is among the saltiest waters on Earth. Meanwhile, increased diversion of water from the Jordan River is causing the sea's level to drop by about 1 meter each year. The rock, made salty by the sea, begins to be actively eroded by fresh groundwater, which in turn leads to the formation of numerous and extensive cavities, the inevitable precursors to sinkholes. It is extremely difficult to predict their appearance, which poses a serious threat to the region's tourism potential. Tianquan Shaozhai, China, is the deepest natural sinkhole on Earth. The underground river flowing through the Defeng Cave in the Chinese municipality of Chongqing has gradually eroded the limestone that forms the local mountains. The result was inevitable. The resulting karst sinkhole is 662 meters deep and over half a kilometer wide. Speleologists discovered it relatively recently, in 1994, after which the hole was nicknamed the Heavenly Pit. In addition to tourists, the pit has been favored by numerous plants and animals, including the rare clouded leopard. Solikamsk, Iberia, Berezniki, Russia. Over 30 years, starting from 1986, 6 large sinkholes have formed in the area and nearby surroundings of the Ural cities of Solikamsk and Berezniki. Since the 1930s, active mining of potash salts has been carried out here, as a result of which the settlements have become surrounded by large-scale mine workings. Moreover, as the cities grew over time, they eventually occupied the territory above these mines, and only a relatively thin 250-meter barrier separated them from the vast underground voids. The salt rock underground continues to dissolve due to groundwater. This process deforms the intermine barriers left in the workings, which ultimately leads to the destabilization of their structure, flooding of the mines, the formation of cracks, and man-made earthquakes. Sinkholes in Berezniki and Solikamsk continue to grow, which has already led to the relocation of entire city districts on the surface and the closure of several enterprises. Sariñama, Venezuela. Tepuy are unique table mountains in Venezuela, remnants of an ancient plateau, isolated from the rest of the world at their base. On their flat summits, there is a special world with endemic species of plants and animals that have evolved in their own way for thousands of years. In addition, the circumstances of the Tepuy are interesting because of the numerous karst sinkholes, the largest of which are found on Mount Sariñama. They were formed by the collapse of the ceilings of tunnels of underground rivers that literally penetrate the mountain. Sima Gumboldt and Sima Martel are the largest of the 4 sinkholes on Sariñama, located 700 meters apart and descending 300 to 350 meters into the Tepuy. Life exists at their bottom, including large trees, and has been isolated from both the plateau's top and the rest of the world. A unique microcosm in the world, a thing in itself, discovered only in the 1960s. Darvaza, Turkmenistan. This crater in the Turkmen-Karakum Desert has a telling nickname, the Gates of Hell. It really looks sinister from the outside. In the early 1970s, Soviet geologists searching for gas near the village of Darvaza first discovered an underground cavity instead, into which all their equipment fell. However, in addition to the cave, gas was present and started seeping into the environment. Aiming to protect people and livestock from possible poisoning by underground emissions, the geologists ignited the gas, expecting it to burn out quickly. The deposit was larger than they expected. The Darvaza crater continues to burn and attract extreme tourists. In early 2022, Turkmenistan's President Berdi Muhamedov proposed eliminating it. At that time, the head of state considered it irrational to let the gas burn, which could have been exported instead. In addition, he suggested that the gates of hell have a negative impact on the health of local residents and the environmental situation. But now, apparently, this issue will be handled by his son, who became the successor of the eccentric president, who delighted social media with his achievements in almost all fields and areas of human activity. The Great Blue Hole of Belize is by no means the largest deep sinkhole on the surface of the Earth, but it is definitely the most beautiful. A typical karst sinkhole formed when limestone cave ceilings collapsed and was later flooded by the Caribbean Sea. This natural wonder amazed people. Surrounded by a coral reef and azure shallow waters, the Great Blue Hole, with a depth of 120 meters, was explored by the expedition of the famous explorer Jacques-Yves Cousteau. He introduced this formation to the public. Because it's far from the coast and poses risks, especially during high tides that create unpredictable whirlpools. Now, thousands of divers come to this marine sinkhole to descend to its bottom, see the stalactites growing there with their own eyes, and enjoy the tropical inhabitants of this amazing place along the way. Well, now for the promised bonus. In the 1970s, Soviet geologist Vladimir Nikolaevich Larin, a doctor of geological and mineralogical sciences, proposed the Earth's core contains ultra-compressed hydrogen. Hydrogen degassing is when hydrogen is released from the planet along with other gases, usually hydrocarbons, helium, and radon, in many parts of our planet, in rift zones, during volcanic eruptions from fractures and craters in the Earth's crust, kimberlite pipes, and some mines and wells. This theory could have a whole episode dedicated to it. It's that interesting, but is it worth it? Let us know by liking the video. If your response is significant, we'll start working on this episode. And now it's worth going over those faults again, which, according to the hydrogen theory, are connected to the planet's hydrogen degassing. In the areas where hydrogen emerges, the Earth's terrain forms very characteristic structural depressions, shaped like saucers, with diameters ranging from 100 meters to several kilometers. Domestic geologists studied the Russian platform. However, judging by satellite images, similar structures are present on all continents, and they are especially widespread on the east coast of the United States. Americans discovered these formations in the 1930s, studied them thoroughly for many decades, but were never able to determine the cause of these mysterious structures. They entered the literature under the term Carolina Bays. According to this version, the cause is the same: jet degassing of hydrogen from the deep zones of the planet. Here is another manifestation of a fairy ring: a strip of lusher and taller grass along the border of a perfectly even circle. It is especially clear and noticeable in usually dry areas of land. The intense growth of plants in the rings is not related to soil characteristics or underground water sources, but can be quite reasonably explained by the release of hydrogen. Moreover, as the gas passes through the fertile soil layer, it bleaches it. In areas where hydrogen gas is released intensely, soil subsidence and the formation of ponds can be observed. A larger volume of gases accumulates, for example, under the layer of permafrost, forming swelling mounds. In this footage, you can see such a mound in Yamal, as well as footage of the explosive evolution of similar mounds. Swelling and karst caves are also the result of hydrogen degassing. According to this theory, as the hydrogen flow passes through the limestone layer, it enters into an exothermic exchange reaction, forming a calcium compound, water, and carbon dioxide. As a result, significant karst sinkholes and craters are formed. And of course, round lakes. Such sinkholes and explosive craters gradually fill with water, forming deep lakes without any external sources feeding them. There are many round, deep lakes on our planet that were formed by hydrogen outflows. And if we use this hydrogen theory, which, by the way, has been experimentally confirmed, then all of this is not at all evidence of fantastic wars of the past or atomic bombings by lost civilizations. These theories are popular on YouTube. So, if you want to see more details about hydrogen degassing, which, although it is not part of the current geological scientific consensus, is still a very interesting theory, and also explains the dynamics of ozone holes on our planet, let us know. That's it for today. Subscribe to catch our next video, and see you in future episodes.